In the old world, we had to build our data model. We had to have a rigid structure for how we wanted to store our data. And then we would take our source data and write it into that table, right? And that was called schema on write. I need to know the schema that I'm writing to before I write it, which would make sense. I have a table, I've got data, I need to know how to get that data into that table. Now, in the new world, we have the concept of schema on read. I can define my schema as I'm reading the data, and then that schema is defined while I am looking at the data, which means that my schema is much more fluid and able to be adjusted. I don't have something that's sitting in a table that I have to put data into. I say, here's what my schema looks like, and here's the data. And I can do that immediately at the time that I want to look at and use the data. So that becomes really, really powerful because now our data modeler can rethink things and redefine these schemas as we learn more about the data. So if you think about maybe I'm getting some information or a source file from one of my customers or one of the organizations that I do business with, and I know 50% of what that data is in that file today, I can look at that, I can have my schema, define it, look at that data, get value out of it, and tomorrow when I learn about 25% more about that data, I can then describe what that looks like and immediately have access to that versus having to remodel and redeploy and rewrite my ETL. I'm much more quickly able to look at and consume and get into that data. And that one concept is really what has changed the game in the data environment to let us go from a much more waterfall approach to an agile approach. It's let us go from months and months and months of work to get maybe some value and that may be right or may be wrong, to be able to get insight quickly in a matter of weeks, not months. And so I encourage everyone, when you're thinking about big data and agile, to take that schema on read concept, apply that as you're going through your sprints, make sure that you're getting value to your customer at the end of every sprint, and don't feel like you have to have a rigid model in place because that's no longer the case with the big data technologies.